So, George, the other thing that happened this week, we also like to cover a bit of TV as and when it comes out, and Mandalorian Season 3 is back.
Yes.
Mando is back, Grogu is back. This is what I would say, along with Andor, which I need to get back to and finish, is kind of the hanging thread of what Star Wars fans are really appreciating at the moment. It's the TV show that's kind of basically a sci-fi western following The Mandalorian. And we're picking up on Season 3 at the end of Season 3, minus spoilers. At the end of Season 2, minus spoilers, Mando removed his helmet in a very intimate moment with Grogu and with Luke Skywalker, which was such a wonderful, well-earned moment with the Darksaber. But of course, the Mandalorian's never meant to remove their helmet. That is not the way. So we find him in Season 3 back with Grogu, and he is seeking approval from the Mandalorians and asking them, how do I get my status back as a Mandalore? And what he has to do is go to the planet of Mandalore and bathe in the something to be like there, but it was all destroyed.
Yes.
But he's going to find a way to do it anyway. Thus brings in a bit of a journey, a bit of a conflict, a bit of a drive. I'd say a sort of fairly short episode, really just kind of easing us in. It reminded me of the kind of episode they put out when you get 2 episodes of the first season. Like, it feels like a sort of half point. Yeah. But I watched it on my plane, a little bit tired, but overall I enjoyed myself. George, how did you find Mandalorian Season 3?
So I have a real bee in my bonnet about Mandalorian Season 3. I love The Mandalorian, right? And just taking it back a second, I watched The Mandalorian in lockdown, so shortly after it came out in 2019.
It was a real lockdown,
because
wasn't it?
It came out, it debuted in 2019 on Disney Plus, back when a lot of people didn't have it. It was one of the first things to kind of come onto the platform.
Very first.
And so it did take a while for people to catch up, and then like Season 2 followed soon after in 2020, and obviously,
which I thought was a lot better.
Sure, whatever.
Season 1 felt very side questy.
But here's the thing: what I liked about The Mandalorian is that it came at a time when Star Wars was so over confused and having a massive identity crisis. And it was like, you know what? You go and do all that. We're going to pick up on TV with a completely new character set in a time we haven't explored yet. This is after Return of the Jedi, just in that nice sort of like post-Empire phase. And we're going to really sink into the universe and explore it in very digestible, small-scale kind of vignettes of every episode, and watching it reminds me of like daytime TV, not like Saturday morning, Western, that kind of thing, and I really liked that, and it was accessible, and so much that I even got my mum into it because she likes Star Wars, and she was like, "What's this thing?" And I was like, "I think actually you can watch this because you don't need 10 years of backstory to get into this. I
think I know where you're going with this.
You can watch this, okay?" And she did, and my mum loved The Mandalorian, okay? I'll come back to this, okay? So anyways, The Mandalorian happens, and you have 2 seasons, and as you say, it builds to that really great emotional climax at the end of Season 2, and, you know, the Mandalorian's quest is complete. He has protected this child, Grogu, and he has now handed him over to Luke Skywalker to be a Jedi because he knows Grogu is really a Jedi. It's a very sort of heart-rending thing. And
I think we kind of all knew what that was happening and where it needed to go.
So it's like, okay, that is concluded. Where to now? Because what's his quest going to be now? What's Grogu? And they've separated. What is their meaning? Right. Now, in the middle of this, you have the Book of Boba Fett. Right? Which I didn't see either, right? This is my issue. And I was made aware that not only does the Mandalorian as a character appear in that show, but the Mandalorian story continues in that show significantly, right? At a time when their emotional journey is really interesting, okay? Now, I didn't see Boba Fett. I didn't want to see Boba Fett. I wasn't interested, and I didn't think it looked very good. And you know what? No one has told me it's very good, right?
That's why I didn't.
So I was like, that's fine. But going into Season 3 of Mandalorian, I thought I will watch the catch. I watched the recaps of the first 2 seasons, and I thought I will just watch the recaps of what happened in the Boba Fett show. And I'm watching it, and I'm going, bloody hell, a lot happened. I was like, did you watch the recaps, by the way, James?
No.
Did you?
So I watched the recap they put at the beginning of the episode.
Oh, no. So I watched the recaps of what happened in the Boba Fett stuff, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot. And I was like, okay, I'll just put that into my mind. Anyway, Season 3 begins of The Mandalorian, and we're on a beach with loads of other Mandalorians. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this must be a flashback because loads of Mandalorians, they're gone now. I've been told that. And they have this young kid. I'm like, oh, it's a flashback to Din Djarin. So, lo and behold, here comes Din Djarin in a new ship with Grogu together, and I'm like, I have no idea how I feel about this. And the thing is, I watched the whole episode, and I don't really. The episode was fine, ended quite abruptly, whatever. But I got to the end of it, and I was like, I'm actually really pissed off at this show because I feel a bit emotionally betrayed by this whole thing.
You should be able to go Mandalorian. I'll watch the Mandalorian for my Mandalorian story.
And I'm like, I'm really thinking about it. I'm like, am I being over the top, or is this a real thing to be annoyed about? And I think it's a real thing to be annoyed about because I spent 2 seasons watching that show, giving it my time, feeling emotionally connected to these characters on an emotional journey, and then we reached a point, and I was like, wow, I can't wait to touch back in with that. And they had the audacity and the gall to go and continue that without me. And I've come back now. I'm like, new ship, what's going on? And the reason I get annoyed is because I hate being taken for granted by Disney that just because I like Star Wars, I must therefore consume all Star Wars content. And it's your fault, George, for not watching Book of Boba Fett, you idiot.
I cannot wait for the Clone Wars nerds to come at you and
I know,
say,
but I'm like, but this idea that like, well, you should have watched Book of Boba Fett to get the complete story. Well, that's your fault. I totally disagree. I think you must be. It's a real insult to your audience, right? And that is a really important point because we are currently at a time when Disney is struggling. They've just laid off loads of people. They're making Toy Story 5 because they haven't got any new ideas, right? Disney Plus as a platform is not making any profit, right?
Very few.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, this I think is a massive slap in the face of your audience. I'm thinking about my mum. Right? And so I finished episode 1 of season 3 and I was like, I have no idea how to explain this to my mum.
No.
My mum is an audience member who loved this show.
And you should, after having watched every minute of that show, be able to, or they should have a fucking good recap at the beginning.
Exactly, yeah. You should be able to slot back in. But I was like, my mum loves this show. She is your audience, your prime audience. You wanted to win over new people with Star Wars. Take it, you can't always have it with the core fans. Expand it out. My mum is a perfect example of that. I watched episode 1 and I thought, I have no idea how to explain this to her.
Yeah.
I don't even think I could start. And therefore, you've kind of like, you've just taken it back to a much more smaller, select, loyal fan base.
Which doesn't make you any money.
You know what? If you want to do that, that's fine. But I feel really annoyed because like that's not how you win a new audience over. So when I was watching Grogu and stuff, I was like, my whole emotional relationship to these characters has been completely disrupted and kind of like bankrupt because I don't know why Grogu's there and I don't feel any achievement or sense of what because we were so invested with their journey. And for him, them just to be back together. We fixed it all. I mean, imagine if this was Succession, right? At the end of Succession, every season ends with a massive bombshell.
Yeah.
And you think, whoa, I can't wait to see how they pick that up in season.
Attack.
Right. Imagine picking up the latest season of Succession. They go, that thing, fixed it. We did all that stuff. We've done all that stuff in another show. We went and did that in Euphoria. Did you not hear about it? Yeah, that's fine. And we've come back now. And sorry, I am ranting, but I was like, I finished the show and I thought, fuck you, Mandalorian. I don't think I'm going to watch any more, actually.
They should have at least called the Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian : the Book of Boba Fett. That would have then made sense. And I could go, okay, this is a spin-off, but it's like a 0.5 of that story that I should probably watch.
Notify your audience. But it wasn't. It was a really cynical exercise to get you to watch that entire show by sneaking in a little bit of Mandalorian into the Boba Fett sandwich. I think it's really cynical. I think it's really annoying. And I watched it with my girlfriend. She hadn't seen any of the Mandalorian stuff. She watched the recap with me. And she was like, I don't really get this. And I was trying to explain it to her. And she was like, this just sounds really messy and annoying.
Recaps are more for people who've already seen it, who've forgotten. It's less useful for people who literally don't know.
I mean, I don't think I'm being unfair, though.
I think absolutely fair. I felt very sort of like, what am I doing? What am I in? Yeah, I'm just sort of taking it in. It's one episode, whatever. But I agree.
And it's sort of, and everything that turned up, all the characters and everything, I just thought, I feel like I've been locked out of this world because I didn't complete all the fucking side quests in Boba Fett. It feels like, when you go to your friend's house when you're a kid and maybe you're playing on the PlayStation, you're like, this is such a good time, I'm having a great time. And then the mum goes, right, dinner's ready. And you go, let's pause this and come back to it after dinner because we're having such a great time. You go, yeah. And you go down, you have a dinner, it's great. And you go back upstairs, and lo and behold, he's already started playing.
Yeah.
And you don't recognise anything. Moved all the pieces around.
Don't know how to play the new moves.
And that's how I felt. I might watch a bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that...
I don't know.
There's no chance you're watching Book of Boba Fett?
I shouldn't have to. That's the thing. I do think about it. I'm like, maybe.
So I'm now thinking I might have to go do it.
But this is it. You shouldn't have to. Out of principle, you should not have to go and watch another show to finish the show that you're watching.
Yeah, I know what you mean by another show. Firstly, like, shouldn't have to principles. We're talking about TV, so I totally get what you mean. But
I think it's disrespectful to the relationship you've built with an audience.
There should have been more of a PSA. They should have said, oh, by the way, guys, if you're coming into Mandalorian Season 3, please go and check out Book of Boba Fett, because they probably withheld the fact that Mando was in there because they wanted to have that reveal for people watching Book of Boba Fett at the time. But now, because they didn't announce it, everyone's like, what happened? And you've been sort of really...
I feel like I've been...
Misled.
Misled.
Yeah.
Will I watch any more? Maybe. But here's my other point with Mando. That all aside, of my feelings, whatever, what I liked about the original Mandalorian, like I said, was this detox from Star Wars and how like grounded it was and just sort of simple. And now it's like you must bathe in the in the underwater alive things, and it's gone headfirst back into the lore that I thought it was just trying to get away from. It tried to detox from. And
I loved that Bill Burr episode, the heist one.
Yes, that was so good. Simple, effective,
and again, it had
focused.
that. I think that was like almost an hour long, but it had that Saturday morning feel to it, but with a massive budget and amazing visual. You know, like that sort of fight along the tram where they're all kicking people off.
Brilliant.
It's fantastic.
So what I say now is, with all the, you can do. I'm okay with a bit of like high fantasy and a bit of high lore, but I don't care, and that's your fault, Disney. It's your fault. I don't care.
I have faith in the likes of your Dave Filoni's and your Jon Favreau's, who are really into that. They know their shit and they are good at steering a ship. They're the kinds of the people that
Agreed.
steer the Star Wars ship very well, and I have faith that it will do something well. We will see.
I will say that if I do continue to watch it, who knows, they might course correct and it might turn into a show that's really good. But my point still stands. I think this is a really bad way to start a new season.
Maybe like the Clone Wars Reddit threads that have a breakdown of the only episodes you need to watch. I've seen those where like, oh, you know how there's like a lot of waffle in that, and if you just want to get to the good stuff, they give you like a season breakdown of like the 10 episodes you need to watch. Maybe they can do that for the Book of Boba Fett and give you just the Mandalorian scenes that you can go and see. But it's still a bit of homework though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think it's annoyed me more than it's annoyed
research.
You. It's unnecessary, stupid, and annoying.
Well, there you go, guys. How did the first episode of Mandalorian Season 3 fare with you? Did you watch Book of Boba Fett? Are you also feeling like you've just been shoved into a story? I feel very presentary.
Yeah.
Send in your thoughts to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We will probably cover Mandalorian Season 3 as it concludes towards its end. Maybe not sort of weekly, but as and when George does the research.
I feel incensed. That's how I feel. Incensed. I'm going back to watching The Last of Us.